Good morning, students. I hope you all are well. Let's continue our chapter India after independence, the last chapter of history. In previous classes, we discussed about after a partition of the country, a large number of the refugees came to India, and the rehabilitation of the refugees, reorganization of Indian states, and to feed population, the existing population of India, which was around 35 crores. So such population to feed by the government. These were the three problems which were faced by the interim government which elected on a 1947. That government which was headed by the Prime Minister Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru. Clear? After the formation of a state reorganization commission in 1953, it decided to reorganize the Indian states on the basis of languages. On the basis of a linguistic, all the states, whole of the landmass, 3.28 million square kilometer area, it divided into the on the basis of languages. On the basis of languages, whole of the landmass, it was divided. So soon after the creation of the Andhra Pradesh by the efforts of Potti Ramalu, which was sacrificed himself for the formation of the Telugu state. He gone for the fast continuously for the 58 days. So after 58 days he died, and finally the government of India approved the formation of Andhra Pradesh, Telugu speaking people. Clear? Because the division of states in India, it was based upon languages. Linguistic basis states were divided. All the states in India at early there were the 14 languages. These were registered in a Constitution of India. These were marked in a Constitution of India. On such basis, the first 14 states came into existence. And through the efforts of Potti Sri Ramalu, Telugu state, which is named as the Andhra Pradesh, which came into existence, which we discussed earlier in our previous classes. Clear? So according to the seditions, some new states were created in 1956. These included the Assamese as the Assam Bengali language and Oriya, Kannada, Malayalam. The Telugu speaking people, regions of the Hyderabad state were added to the Andhra, which was renamed as Andhra Pradesh. A few years later, the Bombay state split into the Marathi-speaking and Maharashtra and Gujarati-speaking. Later, the Hindi-speaking areas of Punjab were made a separate state called the Haryana on 1st November 1966. The Tamil-speaking people, state of the Madras, was given a new name, Tamil Nadu. Some of the India's states were created for the tribal population in different parts of the country: Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Uttarakhand. So these states, they came into existence in a different time periods. Last three states, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Uttarakhand, these were formed in the year of 2001. Jharkhand separated from the Bihar, Chhattisgarh separated from the Madhya Pradesh, and Uttarakhand separated from Uttar Pradesh. So at that time in 2001, there were the 28 states were there. And finally, Telangana, it formed in 2014, which separated from the Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh. So this was a map of India in the year of 2009. Here the Andhra Pradesh, where we are looking towards Andhra Pradesh on the southeastern parts of our country, where the Hyderabad is their capital. That part, it's separated and made as the Telangana, separate state. Telangana. Clear? Telangana. So afterwards, after the independence of a country, the first biggest challenge in front of the newly elected government to improve the economic standard of India. For this, the planned development started. Equitable economic development started. Economic development. Economic development. For the economic development, the government of India, it set up the Planning Commission in the 1950s. Planning Commission. in 1950. The basic purpose of the planning commission, it was that to make as the planned way to develop the country in a planned way, to a procedure. Independent post the challenge of the lifting India and Indians out of poverty, and of building a new social order in which the benefits of freedom, especially the economic benefits, would be assured to all. It also posed the challenge of building a modern technical and industrial base to alleviate the poverty and ensure economic freedom for all. To tackle these challenges, poverty, low economic standard, lower per capita income, such kind of the challenges, the Constituent Assembly decided to go for a mixed economy model, where both the state and the private sector would play important and complementary roles in increasing the production and generating jobs. The government set up the Planning Commission in 1950 for the formulation and execution of policies and programs which initiated by the government of India that would ensure planned economic development. The commission decided to carry out its work by adopting the 5-year plans. So in this process, the first 5-year plan, it was formulated from 1951 to 56. The first 5-year plan, it solved the first major problem in India, food. That problem, it sorted out to emphasize over agriculture, to increase the agricultural development. Then afterwards, the second 5-year plan, 1956 to the 1961, initiated to increase the industrial production. Because after the production reached from the agriculture, that production it can use in industries on a agro-based industries. Those agro-based large-scale industries, like as a cotton textile industries, they can utilize such product which produced through the agriculture as a raw material and provide as a job opportunities to the people. Since these plans determine the goals for the 5 years, they came to be known as the 5-year plans. So far, till present, when we are talking about it till the 2020, the last 5-year plan, it was a 12th 5-year plan, which was run under the 2012 to the 2017. Afterwards, the Niti Ayog, now the Planning Commission is known as a Niti Ayog. That Niti Ayog is basically planning about the year's annual plans. Since independence towards a modern in time, so many number of times the annual plans, these were the initiated. These were the times when India engaged with the war with their neighboring countries. Indo-Pak War of 1965, 1971, 1999. And in the year of 1962 to 65, when the Indo-China war is going on, and under such time periods, the annual plans, these were the initiated, not as a 5-year plans. Clear? Annual plans, these were the initiated. So after the independence, the biggest task to increase the agriculture production. Clear? Ensure the decrease the food scarcity or increase the food security. Clear? Development of the industries, development of communication and technology, eradicate the illiteracy, and solve the problem of poverty. Poverty means when a person is unable to complete their basic necessities like food, shelter, and clothing, that person is considered as under poverty in our country. Clear? That is considered as under poverty. And mixed economy in the sense means where the private sector and public sector. Public sector means government sector, government aided and managed industries, whereas the private industries, when they are collectively work, that kind of economy is a mixed economy. In our country, almost all the sectors, there is a collectively government and the private companies, they are collectively work. There's one example as a Punjab State Electricity Board. Punjab State Electricity Board. When we are talking about before of 2009, the facility, the surface of electricity, it was poorer. But after the 2009, when electricity department it privatized, afterwards their services they improved. The number of power cuts, it reduced, supply increased. Clear? So India, it's basically having as a mixed economy. Mixed economy. So afterwards, after the beginning of developmental stages of India, it started to make as a relations with the world. India and the rest of the world. Our next topic is the India and the world. India and the world, rest of the world. India and the world. After the independence, India adopted a unique foreign policy based on the principles of its own independence and sovereignty, and of peaceful coexistence with other countries. India respects the sovereignty and independence of all the countries. It strongly opposes those countries where the government discriminates between people on the basis of color, race, class, or gender. Clear? So just after the independence, in the year of 1954, India signed the Panchsheel, first relation with the northeastern country, China. The treaty signed as a Panchsheel. A treaty signed in between of India and China in 1954. The 5 principles of a peaceful coexistence or Panchsheel are a series of principles which were formed to be the bedrock of the relationship between India and the People's Republic of China. They were outlined in 1954 within the context of decolonization to ensure that newly independent nations could coexist peacefully. This Panchsheel, it was based upon 5 principles. 5 principles. First, equality and mutual benefits. Equality and mutual benefits. Second one, first is the equality and mutual benefits. Equality and mutual benefits. Second, peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence. Next, third one is a mutual non-aggression. Fourth one, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs. It means that both the countries, India and China, they will not interfere in the internal matters of the countries. Whatever the situation is existed in all the countries, they will not interfere in their internal matters. And the fifth one has a mutual respect for each other's territorial boundaries. Mutual respect for each other's territorial boundaries. So these were the 5 principles which were signed in between of India and China in 1954. Subsequently, the Panchsheel formed the basis of the non-aligned movement. It was also expanded and adopted by the Asian African Conference of at Bandung in Indonesia. This non-alignment movement means after the Panchsheel. Second as a non-alignment movement, NAM. India be the part of the non-alignment movement. Non-alignment, aligned movement. Non-aligned movement. Yes, non-aligned movement. It became as a part of a non-aligned movement. After the Second World War, which was finished on 1945, whole of the world divided into the two blocks, Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc. Western Bloc, it was headed by the USA, United States of America, and their allies, England, France, etc., other countries. And the Eastern Bloc, it managed by the USSR, former USSR. But there was a third group was there, which don't want to be the part of the Western or the Eastern Bloc. That part was known as that group was named as a non-aligned movement. So shortly after the Second World War in 1945, after 1945, the major countries of the world were divided into the two groups of power blocks. The group led by the United States of America was the Western Bloc. The second group was led by the former USSR, and it was called the Eastern Bloc. The 1950, in the year of the 1950s towards the 1960s, saw the emergence of a bitter cold war between these two blocs. In addition to the numerous military pacts and alliances also divided the people of different countries. This was also the period when old colonial empires were collapsing and many countries were attaining the independence. While some countries threw in their lot with either the Eastern or the Western blocs, there were many newly independent countries, such countries as India, which did not want to join either of the two blocks of Western and Eastern blocs. Neither India it directly supported to the USA or not to the Russia, which obtained from the USSR after their disintegration. Russia, it came into existence. India, it came into existence through the non-aligned movement. The founding fathers of a non-aligned movements were the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru from India, President Tito, Tito of Yugoslavia, and President Nasser of Egypt. The non-aligned movement urged the countries not to join either of the two major alliances and remain neutral. The first summit of a non-aligned movement, it was held in 1961 at Belgrade. Belgrade. Belgrade, there was a first meeting, it was held first meeting of a non-aligned countries. So at that time till the 1990s, there were the 25 countries were existed in a non-aligned movement. That's why in a modern time we are having as a friendly relations, good relations with Russia, even with the United States of America also. Because of our that policy, which was set up by or initiated by the founders of India at the time of 1950s and 60s. Clear? Is that clear? Now the next one is the India and its neighbors. India is a large country. It has a long border, long coastline, and a long territorial boundary which shares India's territorial boundary, the boundary which shared by the India with Pakistan in the west, Afghanistan from the part of XI-XII. Third one as a China. China shares the boundary with the Jammu and Kashmir, with Himachal Pradesh, then the Sikkim, and in northeastern state as Arunachal Pradesh. Fourth one is a Nepal. Nepal shares the boundary with Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Sikkim. Then next one, fifth is the Bhutan. Bhutan shares the boundary with Sikkim, Assam, and the parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Then the sixth country is the Myanmar, which earlier known as Burma. Burma shares the boundary with the Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. Clear? And the next one is the Bangladesh, which shares the longest boundary with India. Bangladesh, as per their irregular boundary, it shares the boundary with the West Bengal, Meghalaya, and Tripura and Manipur. So these are the neighboring countries which shares the boundary with India. There are the two of the neighboring countries with India which do not share the boundary. These are located in the Indian Ocean. One is Sri Lanka in the southeast, extremely southeast at the bottom, and in the southwest at the bottom there is a Maldives. So these two countries do not share the boundary, but still they are at the neighboring countries of India. So after the India's policy, India make as a friendly relations. It tried to make as a friendly relations with their India tried to make as the friendly relations with their neighbors since independence towards a modern in time. Clear? Last one. So our next last topic is 70 years of independence. 70 years of independence. 70 years of Indian independence. Independence of India. India is the biggest democracy in the world. Our great regard for democratic values has been affirmed through the various general elections, to the Lok Sabha and the hundreds of state and local elections. In 1991, the Indian economy was restructured by the adoption of a new economic policy. The main aim of the adoption of a newer policy, it was to liberalize the economy and upgrade production technology in various fields. It also aimed at regulating the domestic market to weed out imbalances. Today, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. India is considered as the developing economy because every year it improving their standard as compared to the other underdeveloped countries of Africa. It is making the great progress in the fields of information technology, space science, nuclear technology, and human resource development. In 1974, India conducted its first nuclear test at Pokhran. Subsequently, in May 1998, 5 more nuclear tests were conducted at Pokhran, termed as the Operation Shakti. The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, it built India's the first satellite, Aryabhata. It was launched by the Soviet Union on 19th April 1975. ISRO has also launched a series of multi-purpose geostationary satellites called as the INSAT, INSAT, Indian Satellite. So ISRO, their center, the space center, India's space center, it has located in a Sri Harikota in a Andhra Pradesh. Clear? They cater to the telecommunication and broadcasting services. Broadcasting services and meteorological services. India has set an example for the less advanced countries that are trying to make progress. However, there is an enormous gulf between the rich and the poor. Some groups have benefited more from the economic development than others. Many others continue to live below the poverty line. Unemployment remains a series of problem. Our educational system suffers from the various defects, but still these shortcomings, these are eradicated since independence towards a modern in time. Literacy standards, they are improving in our modern economy through the number of those programs which initiated by the government of India, like as a midday meal scheme, Shiksha Abhiyan. So such kind of the education policies, it eradicate the level of illiteracy, and India it became as the one of the developing countries of the world. So despite the constitutional provisions which declared the practice of the untouchability illegal and a punishable offense, the Dalits still face the discrimination. But the other spheres of her life, that gender bias, that gender bias and the social differences, these are removing by the efforts of the society. Society has taken as an initiative for improving such things. So, but in independence towards a modern in time, that terrorism, it however remains a threat to the India's peace, and problems arising from economic and a social disparity, it continues. In many parts of the country, some people are still treated as untouchables. There is a wide gap between as a rich and the poor. And although women have proved their merit in various spheres, they are still subjected to gender bias and domestic violence. This was our chapter. Clear? Thank you.